Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today for our virtual press event. We are here today with several leaders in our community to announce our United Way COVID-19 Fund and some exciting news about support for that fund. So thank you all for being here. A couple of reminders before we get started. Please mute your audio. We have some prepared remarks, so if everyone who is not speaking could stay on mute, that would be great. The session is being recorded. We are recording now, and this will be distributed to members of the press and through our United Way channels after the event. So if you are here, you will also receive a copy of the recording. But if you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to myself or Alyssa Millsbaugh, whose contact information can be found on the media advisory. We will have time for Q&A at the conclusion of the prepared remarks. To ask a question, please simply just use the raise your hand function on Zoom or type your questions into the chat. I will be monitoring and will read any questions that appear in the chat to our speakers here today. So with that, thank you again for being here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Don Allen of Stanley Black Decker to kick us off. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. And good morning, everyone. And I want to welcome everyone and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Don Allen, as Mara indicated, and I am the Executive Vice President and CFO at Stanley Black Decker. I also have the privilege to be the chair of the United Way Board of Directors here in the Hartford area. I'm joined by three other presenters today that we'll introduce a little bit later on, but all three of them are significant leaders in our community, and it's a privilege to be here with them today to really announce this exciting official launch of the United Way COVID-19 Fund. When the pandemic began, which is amazing, almost 10 months, 11 months ago now, it's hard to believe, at Stanley Black Decker, we really tried to focus our communications to three areas as we went through the crisis, not really knowing how long this would go on. The first was, how do we keep our employees safe through this journey? How do we meet the needs of our customers and the business requirements that we will have? And then the third is, how do we help our communities and do what we can to control the spread of the virus in those communities? In the next half hour, you'll hear from several speakers about the work that we are doing together, focused on the long-term recovery from the impacts of COVID-19. Clearly, it hits that number 3 item of areas of focus for Stanley Black Decker. So first, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, and it's Paula Gilberto, the President and CEO of United Way of Central and Northeastern Connecticut. Paula?
Thank you, Don, and thank you all for being with us today for what we believe is not only important news, but also meaningful news for residents and the communities that we serve. There's absolutely no question that COVID-19 has really brought about unprecedented human and economic loss nationally, in our state, in our region, and in the very towns and cities in which we live and in which we work. It's amazing that we're approaching that 1-year mark. And I do want to acknowledge the hardships that so many people have faced. We clearly have lost loved ones. We certainly have lost time with people that we care about. And many have lost jobs, and included in that loss of jobs has been a loss of financial security, and for many, compromised health. For nearly a century, United Way of Central and Northeastern Connecticut has been the organization that you and others in our community turn to and count on during difficult times. We're built to tackle tough problems. It's in our DNA, and we're here today to continue to respond to COVID-19 and its effects, and to help individuals and businesses recover. When the pandemic really hit hard in March, we quickly activated our immediate emergency response fund called Neighbors in Need. And again, the intention there was to quickly raise resources and deploy those resources through quality nonprofit organizations and in partnership with other community-based organizations to respond to immediate needs. And I thank all of you who have contributed to that, including Stanley Black Decker, that made a very significant contribution. We were able to serve nearly 15,000 people quickly, immediately, providing food, rent and utility assistance, telehealth services, and direct financial support in partnership with municipalities. That was then, and as critical as those services were, we're now moving into the effects and the longer term effects that COVID-19 is having on individuals. And that's where recovery efforts in a coordinated, effective way are going to matter. The United Way COVID-19 Fund is intended to not only raise resources, but to deploy those resources in a coordinated way and in partnership with municipalities, with schools, and with quality community-based organizations. We're focusing in on 3 key areas: essential services, public awareness, and mobilizing resources. In terms of essential services, we know that the need for food is continuing. We also know that significant number of people have lost their jobs or have lost income because of furloughs or disruption in work hours. What we want to do is take a coordinated approach, again, with municipalities, with community-based organizations, and with schools to not only address that economic hardship, get people skilled up for jobs, get people back at work, but we also want to address and tackle what is keeping people from being food insecure and how we can keep people safe in their homes. We also know that children have lost a lot despite every parent's great efforts in terms of homeschooling and distance learning. And our kids have a lot of ground to make up educationally. So the essential services includes those core areas around education, financial stability, connecting people to health. And again, this is about longer term recovery. The second pillar is public awareness. We have a lot of work to do in terms of helping people learn about the importance of getting the COVID-19 vaccine when they're eligible, and also the importance of connecting people to financial management resources. We can do that in partnership, not only with community-based organizations and municipalities, but with businesses as well, so that we can reach employees and give them that critical information. And the third critical area is how we go about mobilizing volunteers and how we go about mobilizing critical material needs of people. So with respect to mobilizing volunteers, we're doing incredible work innovating the way in which volunteers can interact with children to help them educationally, as well as helping people with connecting to financial resources. And with respect to donations, I just want to give a shout out to our colleagues at Pratt & Whitney and also Bank of America. Those 2 organizations contributed 290,000 face masks and trusted our United Way to get those masks out to individuals statewide served by nonprofit organizations. So thank you. In total, we have distributed 320,000 face masks, thanks to our corporate partners' trust in us. Long-term recovery is going to require innovative partnerships. And with that, I want to thank Navigate Affordable Housing Partners. They made a contribution to help individuals with rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. Again, important as families recover. You're going to hear in a moment from Mayor LeClaire, representing not only the town of East Hartford, but Capital Region Council of Governments. They have been tremendous in terms of leading regional recovery efforts, and our United Way is proud to be part of that. And a very special thank you to Stanley Black Decker. Our colleagues at Stanley Black Decker made a huge investment initially in our emergency fund, Neighbors in Need, and they are now the first to step up with a very generous contribution to launch the United Way COVID-19 Fund. It speaks to them in terms of a company, their values, and the commitment of their employees. And I say that proudly, coming from a Stanley Black Decker family. Also want to note that this is all about how we engage and bring together the right people, the right organizations, and mobilize the right resources, not just in the here and now, but in the long term. And with that, I would like to turn it back to Don.
Thank you, Paula. And it's really been an honor to work with you and your team. for the last several years, and especially through this crisis and all the things that we're trying to do to help families in need. And it's just great to see that interaction with your team on a regular basis. So the partnership between Stanley Black Decker and United Way really spans over many decades. We have a legacy at our company of CEOs, executives, and many employees who have supported United Way for the last maybe even 50 years or more in the Hartford area. As Paula said, both of the organizations have a commitment to innovation and to finding new solutions to existing challenges. And clearly this challenge in front of us is something we're all trying to work through to solve and make it as easy for people to get through this difficult period of time as possible. At Stanley Black Decker, one of our goals that we like to say a lot is to inspire makers and innovators to create a more sustainable world. We really believe that corporations have a broader role to play in our society. That role requires us to be a force for good. And we hope many other corporations will join in that vision of trying to be a force for good. And at this moment, one of the most pressing needs we all face, we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes, is building back better and stronger than we were before COVID-19. That is why Stanley Black Decker has committed the first investment to this strategic fund. Our donation of $140,000 to United Way will help address long-term recovery needs and to help launch a new initiative in Hartford to virtually connect struggling readers, kindergarten through third grade in particular, with volunteers to build literacy skills. We are pleased that Stanley Black Decker employees will be among the first to be matched with these students. The needs of youth and families in our community are extremely pressing, and we are proud to join with United Way to kick off such an important effort. Long-term recovery will require partnership across many sectors. And so with that, we've invited two of our municipal leaders here today to speak to the partnership in place to support residents. First, I'd like to welcome Marcia Leclerc, Mayor of East Hartford and the Chair of Capital Regional Council of Governments, to say a few words. Marcia?
I think you're on mute.
Marcia, you're still on mute, Marcia.
I need a shirt that says that.
Happens to us, all of us every day. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And so I was saying that as the chair of the Capital Region Council of Governments, we certainly understand that together we're better. And so it is made up of 41 individual municipalities. And our strength comes from that partnership with our other municipalities because we know that collectively we can be better. And we stand as an example of how working collectively we can recover from this pandemic because we'll use the strengths of businesses, organizations, healthcare to come together. CROG has stood up not only and activated on March 18th the Emergency Response and Coordination Center for the 41 municipalities in the area. We also stood up a regional distribution center distributing over 22.5 million pieces of personal protective equipment into communities, healthcare, school systems, as well as into municipalities and across the whole unit of 41 municipalities. When PPEs were scarce, we were there to help to support them. Critical was during that time was the unavailability of personal protective equipment. And CROG was able to move and use their talent and expertise to put out a personal a request for qualifications in order to really mine the opportunities to connect with personal protective equipment that was quality rather than all of the elements that entered into the area during that time to take advantage of the situation. We also have put together a regional long-term recovery committee, and that long-term recovery committee consists of many people from the municipalities that we serve, but it also is combined and offers human services response, as well as economic response. And as you know, that Capital Region Council of Governments serves and works cooperatively on many levels of across government and municipalities, bringing together organizations and sitting on Metro Hartford Alliance, working with University of Connecticut and downtown Hartford, working with the state of Connecticut, DPH, working with our other partners at the state of Connecticut to align goals and missions that will complement and support the state's recovery and the state's call to action at the same time in regards to the pandemic. At the same time, I want to give a shout out to our corporate partner in the town of East Hartford, Pratt & Whitney Aircraft. As you know, Pratt & Whitney is the largest employer in the town of East Hartford, and has been critical to normality in the town of East Hartford. Not only have they been instrumental in helping families to cope through the pandemic by standing up a drive-through trick-or-treat program, which is critical for children to understand that there can be some source of normality in their lives at a critical time when they have no idea really what's going on, when they're not going to school, etc. They also have provided us an immense amount of personal protective equipment, and Paula talked a little bit about that, delivering that into our communities. And also what we don't know about many of the organizations that we speak about is that in many ways, many organizations are doing great things. Pratt & Whitney also had created face shields. They had called a series of their employees to stand up a production early on when PPEs were unavailable to start to, in the hangar, build and create personal protective equipment face shields. And so that call to action has been recognized in the state of Connecticut as a contributing partner to not only the pandemic response, but also to the long-term recovery and through the pandemic. So thank you, Paula.
Great.
Okay,
So
great.
now
Thank
we
you,
will
Mayor.
welcome Mayor Broun in.
Thank you, Mara.
Great. Good morning, everybody. First, just a huge thank you to Don and the entire team at Stanley Black Decker, and to Paula and the entire team at the United Way, and of course to Navigate Housing and all of the other partners who make the work that the United Way does possible and this particular fund possible. You know, the United Way, as others have said, has been such a powerful presence in our community for so long, and never more important than over the last 9 months. And the partnership that the United Way had established early and quickly with the Hartford Foundation to get immediate relief and help meet basic needs was absolutely vital and continues to be absolutely vital. But I'm really grateful for the United Way and for Stanley for being the inaugural funder to kick off this new fund, because as Marcia said, it's not the challenge is not limited to these hopefully last months of the pandemic. It's going to be continuing. The needs are going to continue and be vast. And I think the focus areas of this fund are exactly in the right place. Housing is going to continue to be a challenge for so many families, even after the vaccine is rolled out, widely. And so to focus on that area in particular, I think is really important. We know that food insecurity continues to be an enormous challenge for so many families right now. We see that in so many ways. You see it in the long lines at the pantries. You see it in our schools. Just it is apparent that is going to be an ongoing challenge and an urgent one for so many families. So there too, building a longer term way to help meet that need as we recover is critical. And then educational re-engagement, reconnection, and particularly a focus on literacy are powerful. And so I want to say a big thank you to Stanley, not just for the financial commitment to helping to get the fund established, but also the personal commitment of so many employees who have stepped up and said, we want to be a part of helping to provide that tutoring, that relationship, that literacy support, because if there is one aspect of this pandemic that I think above all others should probably keep us up at night beyond the loss of life, it is the derailment of education for so many kids. And the recovery from that is going to take, is going to require us to work on many, many fronts, probably for many years, but it really will take an all community, all hands on deck. And so to have that be a part of this, not just with a financial commitment, but an individual employee commitment means a lot. So that's really all I want to say. A big thank you again to all the teams that make this possible, to Stanley for stepping up. And I should say, I mean, Stanley has stepped up in so many ways, even before the pandemic. But you know, this is it's a company that's been around here for 175 years, and I think is deeply rooted. And understands the importance of that rootedness and connection to community. So that means a lot. And again, obviously to navigate into Pratt & Whitney and all of the others that were mentioned and many, many more. Thank you for that, and to the entire United Way team. So grateful.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Leclerc and Mayor Broun. Really focused and intense wording, and the messages are really, right on the mark of where we are in this pandemic and what we all need to do together to try to solve this as a community. As you've heard today, much work needs to be done to help youth and families recover from the effects of COVID-19. And we don't really know exactly when this is going to end. We are hopeful it will end in the summer at the latest of this year, but it may go on longer. And so we have to continue to stay focused on what we need to do. And it's going to take all of us to make this happen. So to those of you listening and those of you listening to this in the videotape in the future, please join Stanley Black Decker and Navigate Affordable Housing in this effort. To my fellow corporate citizens in the region, we need your help. Please make an investment in this work. And for any individuals out there who are looking to help, contact United Way, visit their website, and you can donate to the United Way COVID-19 Fund. Thank you for the time this morning.